one of the most challenging pieces of growing and developing is being able to look at your thinking, not just experience your thinking. The way that I like to talk about this with SightShift is we have filters through which we're viewing everything. We want to pay attention to the filter that we're using. And the simplest way that I'm trying to express this is we're filtering everything through, are we doing a good job, and do people like us? And we want to push those to the background and take one filter and really, get our attention zeroed in on this, how we're viewing everything through the experience of our identity. Once you start to do this, once you become aware of this, you can reframe everything in your life. And one of the things that I'm fascinated by is the cyclical nature of history, with the way that we get distracted by philosophies and ways of thinking and ways of doing things that are harmful for so many people. And it just comes about because we don't have enough individuals thinking about their thinking, really understanding what it means to reframe everything through this filter or lens of who they are. So I can tend to play in some pretty deep mental playgrounds, and it's not helpful if it's complex. So I try to boil things down in a way that my mind can express it, and it's something simple. And so one of the ways I've been doing that recently is just getting people to think about their belief system. A pattern I've noticed is that the most adjusted people to the reality and challenge of life. I mean, life isn't fair. It's hard. You're going to have hard days with beautiful moments. You're going to have beautiful days with hard moments, and you're going to have harder days with beautiful moments. So how do you become a resilient person in that? How, in the midst of the challenges and pressures of life, do you learn who you are? Do you progress with your mission and build relationships and community that you enjoy and fulfill you? Well, I can tell you that you're going to have to progress beyond whatever the belief system is that gets you stuck. And so what most people do is they just stay stuck. They stay cogs in the bigger pictures of society and what's happening in the world, and life isn't fair and the world isn't fair. Some people progress to a second belief system. And oftentimes this will happen in college. It may happen through a traumatic or challenging experience. And as that happens, oftentimes this second belief system is where they're trying to tear something down. They think because of what they've experienced that was so bad about the first belief system, they're going to make it right through what they're going to fix in the second belief system. And oftentimes that second belief system, it's so focused on deconstruction that it's not a progressive vision of how things could get better for their life, whether they're thinking just personally about themselves or at a bigger picture, the people around them. Rare are the people who get to a third belief system where they progress beyond a reactionary second belief system, right? They progress beyond seeing something from their first belief system, even if it wasn't chosen, it was what they were raised in. They get to the second one, right? And then they are reacting to this first one. Rare is the person or the people who get to the third one who actually learn how to construct meaning for themselves. So let me give you just a stereotypical example. You got a kid that grows up in capitalism. Something bad happens work-wise to them or a family member. They go to college and they learn about social engineering and Marxism. They don't maybe get those terms that directly. And then they progress with an evangelistic fervor to change the world with this idea. Well, they're on their second belief system. They haven't made it to their third one yet. So they're still very antagonistic in how they're approaching the world. And it's amazing to me if you'll start to analyze philosophies and the way that people approach life. So oftentimes when they're in that second belief system, they've built it around whatever their unique struggle is. Karl Marx talked a ton about alienation, and he was building it on another philosopher who was talking about the alienation from self, which is what I totally track with in SightShift, helping people figure out who they are, because you've got to get the individual healthy before you get the whole collective group healthy. But he took that and then just applied it to materialism, to everything that we interact with in work and the economy and all that. And basically, let's build our identity around the shared work together, and we're going to have this social engineering and pull everybody down. And you look through Marx's stuff, clearly alienation was a struggle for him. He's lonely. He wanted to belong. So then he builds a worldview, a belief system, where he tries to fix that for everybody. Well, I can tell you that in working with lots of people, that's not everybody's struggle. Not everybody struggles with belonging, right? We all have a process that we're going through to figure out who we are and the struggle of our identity. And so the big idea here is, and I wanted to just do a little bit longer video on this, is to get you to think about, we need to do all we can to level the playing field of life, okay? I want to do that. That's a healthy society. That's progression. But you're never going to get all the disadvantages removed from your life. Some people got more advantages than you, yes, but everybody has been challenged in some way. And it'll erode your mindset if you're just focused on trying to build an approach to life, a philosophy, a belief system, where you think the answer is to erode all the disadvantages. You can't get all the disadvantages out, and this will pull down your mindset. Secondly, we should build healthy institutions. We should build places where, whether it's marriages or workplaces, where we're helping people figure out who they are, not just being codependent on the institution. But they've got to choose this for themselves. And this is the big idea. Individual identity supersedes group identity. And, whether it's your race or your sexuality, like I talked about in an earlier video, all these are a part of who you are, but they're not the whole of who you are. A favorite quote of mine from Maya Angelou, let me read it to you. I do not represent blacks or tall women or Samoans or Californians or Americans, or rather I hope I do, because I am all those things, but that is not all that I am. I am all of that and more and less. People often put labels on people so they don't have to deal with the physical fact of those people. I simply refuse to have my life narrowed and prescribed. In other words, she's saying these things that you'll use to describe me, they're a part of who I am, they're not all of who I am. And most of the philosophies that break down for people, that erode their mindset, that tear them down, it's because that philosophy or that belief system, it's only a second belief system. It's not a third one where it's actually about the individual becoming whole. It's a second belief system where you're just taking a subset of who people are and you're trying to erase all the disadvantages, like Marx did with making us all workers. The answer is you to figure out who you are. I mean, at some level, if you're not figuring out who you are and you're just on your first or second belief system, then bots can be programmed on Twitter to get you to respond to certain things and get fired up, or news agencies, because you're not actually looking at the filter with which you view the world. People are in motion. We're growing and we're progressing. We're becoming a better version of ourselves or a worse version of ourselves. I just want to help you become the best version of who you are. And it's going to happen when you learn to look at where you've come from, what you might be choosing in reaction to where you've come from, and laying all that down to really learn who you are and how you approach things. Peace.